Hello, welcome to Miniature Realms. My name's Stuart, and with the recent release of Dwarfen Mountain Holds for Warhammer the Old World, there's been an awful lot of online discussion around army lists and competitive play. And I thought it'd be fun to take a little look at what the narrative offerings of this new Arcane journal are.
Miniature Realms is proudly sponsored by Baron of Dice, premium wargaming dice. Over 500 styles, over 4,000 customer reviews. Welcome to the best dice on the planet.
At 48 pages, this isn't packed with huge amount of narrative, offering or rules. It's very much a really cool addendum to the core dwarf army list that's in the Fortress of Fantasy book. But there is a little bit of background lore, which is very cool, which I may well be covering in another video. But we do have this lovely little scenario here. Now, there is a brief history for dwarves in the old world, some coverage of the main holds, and a little bit about where dwarves are as a society at the time of Warhammer the Old World. The reclamation of Khazid Vosk is the main theme of story contained within this book. There are 6 pages of narrative and a lovely colour map which really leans into an idea of what the dwarves are up to at this time and gives an example that ties into the special characters that are in the book as well. But also it ties in fantastically with this little scenario. That's clearly why the scenario has been added. So let's take a look at the Storming of Khazid Vosk. As the booming of cannon filled the air, Burlock looked upon the horde spilling forth of the darkened halls of Khazid Vosk like water burst from a dam. Swearing an oath of vengeance for those who would meet the ancestors this day, Burlock hefted his hammer and ordered his warriors to make ready. If the orcs were so eager to abandon their position, then Burlock would not waste the opportunity to reclaim it in the name of the Engineers Guild. So at its core, the scenario is a historical recreation of the end of that little bit of lore, that little bit of narrative provided in the Arcane journal. It pits famous old foes together with dwarves trying to retake Khazid Vosk from a horde of orcs and goblins. It's not new for Games Workshop to add narrative scenarios to their army books. I, for one, believe they're always much stronger when there's a good balance between narrative ideas and match play as well. But quite often what happens with narrative scenarios, they are often huge in scope, or at least they have been in the past, and the armies that you need are just way beyond the average gamer. You would have to get together with your friends and maybe pool resources. And I love those big games, but quite often they just don't happen. They exist only as ideas. And I like what they've done here. It's just 3,000 points aside, which is a sizable army. It's bigger than the sort of standard 2,000 points we're seeing, but also the kind of points level that people are likely to be able to make from their own collections once they have built their forces. The attacker, the dwarves in this case, needs to write a 3,000 points army list using the new expeditionary forced army of infamy that's in this Arcane journal, and the general must be Burlock Daminson. The defender, the orcs and goblin tribes in this case, is a 3,000 point army, just made from the standard list found in Ravening Hordes. It does also note that you can use any 2 army lists to play this scenario, and for old veteran gamers like myself, that's pretty obvious, but still a lot of people new coming into this hobby that are picking up games like this. And from the kind of commentary and the questions I see asked on social media, especially on Facebook, not everyone realizes, and they can still ask questions like, is it okay to swap the armies out? Well, of course it is, but it's nice to see it written in the book, giving people the open invitation, go and play the games how you like. And as we see for the rules and the setup for this scenario, it would work for any 2 armies in a similar setting. Now, it does suggest setting up using the rules found in the Old World rulebook. Now, as this is a narrative game, I would suggest setting it up with that in mind, to give you some guidance of what works and what doesn't work for this game. After all, you don't want to put so much terrain on the table that it hinders your movement and makes the game unplayable, but also it is quite restrictive in terms of the amount of scenery that you're allowed on the table these days as well, especially regarding things placed in the middle. So I would also add a little bit of customization to that and just be free and make the game table look better. The table layout or map is super simple and straightforward. forward. It shows the deployment areas, and it also shows that you need a gatehouse which should measure from 12 inches from the center on one side of the table. Now, it's complete coincidence that my video before this, I made this, and well, if you haven't watched that video already, go and watch that. It may well give you some ideas of how to make some suitable terrain for this scenario. After that, it's pretty straightforward. The attacker goes first and the game lasts for 6 turns unless someone concedes. The scenario special rules add some fun and flavour to the battle. The mountains are crawling with them, allow the defending orc player to add some units with the ambushes special rule for free. The entrenched besiegers rule allows the attacking dwarf player to nominate some units as entrenched. I can imagine a gun line behind some palisades or something like that. The rules for the gatehouse add a focus area to the battle, and while it's open ground, it really makes it feel a little bit like a siege game without the need to have a castle. Standard victory points are used to determine the winner as described in the main rulebook. However, there are some bonus victory points as well, and again, this really adds the flavour to the game. The defending player can win a bonus victory points for each friendly unit inside its deployment zone, and the attacking player gets bonus victory points for having its units inside the defender's deployment zone. But the most important bonus points go to the player controlling that gatehouse area with a bonus of 200 victory points for the player that has the highest total unit strength within that area, which I think really gives it that feel of attacking the gatehouse, knowing that the losing side, you'd imagine, has given way to the gates and the attackers can pour in, or maybe the winning side is the orcs and goblins and they can force the dwarves away, keeping hold of Khazid Vosk. And that's it. Really, really simple and straightforward. Yes, a large game, but 3,000 points isn't in any way unattainable at all. No really, really strong restrictions in there on the kind of units and things you should take. It obviously recommends you take the expeditionary force and play against the orc and goblin army. That's the narrative, that's the lore that's built into it. But as you can see from the way the game is set up, you could have any 2 opposing armies for any factions, one defending, one attacking, and it would work perfectly. And there's no reason why you couldn't reduce that down to 2,000 points or even smaller on a smaller table as well. Maybe you reduce that gatehouse zone if you're playing on a smaller tabletop. But a really fun and flexible idea for a game that's not just a standard match play. Well, thank you very much for watching. Hope you've enjoyed the video. I thought it'd be fun just to delve into these books in a slightly different way and look at the narrative scenario that is in there. It's a nice, easy, short video for me to make and share with you guys. And I'd love to hear what your thoughts are in the comments. Maybe you've played this already, maybe you're planning on playing it, maybe you've played the narrative scenarios that are in the existing 3 or the prior 3 Arcane journals, and if you like those and you'd like me to do a similar short video covering the narrative scenarios in those, let me know in the comments below. I've got plans to cover this book and the other books a little bit more, diving into the lore of the old world in upcoming videos. So take a little bit longer to prepare than this one, so do hold tight for those. And of course, I'll be turning for many more hobby related videos as well. Hopefully in a few days time, you'll see my first dwarf painting tutorial for a couple of weeks. And hopefully very soon we will know what the next faction they intend to release for Warhammer, the old world is, and what the next one of these books will be. I'm definitely excited to find out. I think it's going to be Chaos Warriors or Beastmen. That's my guess. I think we'll do a chaosy type faction next, but let me know what you think in the comments below. If you've enjoyed the video, please do give us a like, drop a comment below, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. It really, really helps me. I've got a Patreon and we have a friendly Discord as well, so check those links in the video description. Any way you can support the channel is greatly appreciated. Thank you very much for watching. Take care and I'll catch you soon.